You're listening to Heritage Radio Network.
From kitchen chaos to well-oiled machines, get ready for newfangled technology and old-school know-how. Stories and a good bit of fun. I'm Simon, and this is Culinary Mechanic. Joining me today is Kenneth Scharlatt of Savage Orchid Hospitality. Kenneth, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Chef. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. I'm excited to talk to you. I think you and I met in Vegas this year and just realized that we definitely have some things in common. We both are pretty passionate about the hospitality industry, and I thought that we could have a fun little conversation here.
I've been looking forward to having this chat with you for a hot minute, so I'm excited.
Nice. I appreciate that. All right, it's Culinary Mechanic, so we say step on the gas and go. How'd you get into this industry?
I don't have the typical answer to that. Everybody either starts in the dish pit or works their way up from there. I actually really was brought in by a friend that was opening up a restaurant. I didn't have any restaurant experience or anything like that, but I had customer service background. So he came to me and said, "Hey, I'm opening up a spot. I want it to be a really guest focused experience, and we need to make sure that our team is trained up on that." So he brought me in essentially as a guest experience manager to help train the team up and make sure that we were providing a really solid, enjoyable experience where it wasn't just transactional. It was more, let's give them a vibe. Let's give them that something that they want to come back for on top of the food, of course. So, so I did that for a few years. Also ran and booked all of their entertainment and, did all the side work and all that other type of stuff for that. And then, just kind of have been drawn to the industry since. It's been, you talk to people and they say that they got into it and then they just can't get out of it. They got sucked into this black hole or, whatever it is. And I just don't feel that way. I feel like I found a passion and I found a calling. I'm hungry about what I do. And I really like sharing that information on. So
I think that's a good black hole to be in, man.
You know what? If every black hole was like that, sign me up.
Yep. I totally agree. I think that, for me, I started off as a kid. I was probably 16 years old. And by the time I was 19, there was nothing I wanted more in the world than to be in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I totally get it. Like there's a passion to it. There's some fun. I find there's a lot of curiosity and intrigue if you're doing it well, right? Like there's just stuff to learn. There's things to check out. Nowadays, I think there's so many aspects and facets of hospitality. All right. So you get in, you're the customer experience manager. You are clearly in love with what you're doing. That's amazing. How do we get from that guy to how do we get to like what you're doing now with Savage Orchid Hospitality, and tell us a little bit about like what that work is looking like.
Yeah. So my career is kind of two parts. So everything pre-COVID was more on the independent restaurant, nightlife, and bar scene. Post-COVID, I've been in focusing strictly on the hotel food and beverage experience. So pre-COVID, I helped my friend open up that restaurant that I just mentioned. Had somebody reach out to me that was looking for. Actually, I also did some DJ work. So I was a big DJ up in northeastern Pennsylvania, and in our off season, somebody that was running a bar and nightlife environment called me up and said, "Hey, we have some spots to fill, some fill-in work that we need a DJ and an MC for. Sure, I'll go in the off season and help them out." So that progressed and got me to the point where he reached out to me while I was there one night and said, "Well, we're opening up a day shift and need somebody to come in and help kind of transform that and take that over." I said, "Okay." So I went in and I helped them out there, and then about not even 2 months later, I took over all of their direct. I took over as their director of food and beverage. Took over all their marketing aspects as well, and was tasked with opening up a members only speakeasy style restaurant in the adjacent building that was part of our lease that was just not being utilized. So we kind of did a full uh, culinary and restaurant and bar and nightlife kind of experience. And I was there for several years until the pandemic shut us down. And that was, like I said, up in Nowheresville, Pennsylvania, and knew if I wanted to do anything on top of that, which was a great experience, that I moved down to Tennessee, to Nashville. And that's a foodie city, a hugely growing, rapidly growing city. And that's when I started getting into hotels. And from there, hotels have been my passion ever since. I love the independent restaurant side. Um, I love the nightlife scene. I'm getting a little bit older now, so maybe not so much nightlife anymore. But yeah, it's just I've been in hotels ever since, and I I know for a fact that hotels I have found my calling.
Nice.
So yeah, so now we're with Savage Orchid. We're a full service consultancy. We focus on food and beverage within the hotel space. And from there, we are trying to really change the mindset of hotel food and beverage. A lot of our work is primarily with the independent and boutique hotels. So, properties that really aren't afraid of going out on the limb, but they just may not have the execution or may not have the know-how to do it. So that's really where we come in and basically help them build out their brand for their restaurant, and do some market research and see what's going to work. We want to bring the community into the hotel F&B environment as well, so we're making sure that we're not just focusing on people that are staying at the property, but also for opening up to local clientele, building relationships with local suppliers and businesses and whatever's going on in the community, and then just really helping them operate more along the lines of an independent restaurant as opposed to an amenity based feature that most hotels have been focusing on for the last couple
Totally.
decades.
Yeah. Uh, Amen. I mean, I think back to, well, I know that for me, like going all the way back into the 90s, I remember working in some hotels where you literally were just standing around waiting for an order, you know. But then I got the opportunity to work for a place in, oh, where was I? I was in Clearwater Beach, Florida, and we the chef he'd come out of Utah and he'd been in a resort there, and so like he was accustomed to having people like busy, and so he just
Yep.
really pushed us to push our food. And it's fascinating what happens when you start to like break that seal of this is just for the guests, right?
Yeah.
And like you get the people come walking in off the street through the main lobby into the,
Yep.
there's just a different feel. It's pretty amazing. I also got to work for the Viceroy Hotel when back in its early days, before it was the Viceroy Hotel Group and they were all over the world. There was like
Mm-hmm.
one, and it was in Santa
Yep.
Monica, California. And those are the days where we had, back before Michelin was in the States, we had 3 stars in the LA Times, right? Like to do that was crazy because it was a happening spot and it was
Right.
busy, right? Like we were turning 350, 400 covers a night on a Friday and Saturday, and we were like everything was about keeping the level up,
Mm-hmm.
So I absolutely applaud that. I think that anytime you got somebody who's progressive enough to say, "Hey, I don't want to just be the amenity," it's a win, because I mean, they actually have with starting from the amenity space, right? Like they have money to invest.
For sure. For
You
sure.
know?
And it's funny because we have I say I work primarily a lot in independent and boutique style hotels. You know, those are the experiential kind of properties. Travelers today, and just focusing primarily on the travelers for a second, people want something that is localized. They don't want to go into an establishment or a hotel, restaurant that it's the same thing that you can get in New York, and it's the same menu that you can get in Podunk, Idaho, in a no-name city kind of situation, right? They want that local flair. They want that local experience. Branded hotels, for the most part, aren't willing to really make those changes. They still want that brand standard and consistency. And I have no problem with having a brand standard. I believe every brand, whether it's an independent or a multi-unit, conglomerate kind of situation, you need to have your standards set. No, I'm not arguing that. But your standards should be set based on your market and what your market demands. And there needs to be some flexibility in there. I think that's where a lot of the major brands, that's where they lose it. And that's where the boutiques, the independents, the quote unquote mom and pop, right? Those style properties, again, they're not afraid to go out on a limb. They know they have to because they're competing with those brands.
Right.
But they're the ones that can deliver that really unique experience that people are craving. And that's why we're seeing those kind of properties really start to dominate in a lot of the market share. There was an article that came out a couple weeks ago in the hotel space that brands are starting to get worried, and major brands, Marriott's, Hilton's, they are looking more into what they call the soft brand, where it's the one-off style properties, where if you're looking at like a Marriott, like an autograph collection or a tapestry collection or something along those lines, where it's not, a DoubleTree or a, whatever it may be, they're looking more into the soft brands just because it's still under the brand umbrella, but it's not it gives it more flexibility to what the actual individual property can do.
I like that.
I can see that starting to take over from the brand side of things as we look into the industry, 3 to 5 years down the road. You're going to see a lot more soft brands coming up from the Hiltons, the Marriotts, things like that.
Well, let's pause for a second. If you're serious about building a kitchen that leads from the top, runs on systems, and actually feels good to work in, make sure you're following Culinary Mechanic. This show is all about helping you lead better, scale smarter, and stop white-knuckling your business. And if you're ready to dig in deeper, you'll find a link in the show notes to connect with me directly. I receive I think it's Marriott. I received some sort of email from them, and the number of little logos in the last 2 years has like quadrupled. I'm like, and it's really weird. I thought about getting like unsubscribing to it because I was like, I don't care. But now I'm like, every week when I look at it, it's just become like a weekly newsletter. I'm like, this is actually getting more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just one. So I can't, just all those little things. All I gotta say is death to the Beige lobby bar that could be anywhere USA, right?
Bye-bye.
Like, I mean, just the idea that I can't tell you how many I've walked into over the last few years, and I walk in and there's no windows, and I could be in any city. It doesn't matter because the liquor selection is exactly the same, right? Like, I mean, just can I please have like one or two bourbons that are not everywhere? Just one, maybe two, and I'd be happy.
It's funny that you say that because we just did got done doing a project in DC, and one of the things that I helped them do was almost revitalize their beverage program. When I got there, it was very standardized. You have your 8 to 10 whiskeys, your 6 to 8 vodkas, all of that, and it was all the same national brands. And I don't care what market you're in, there is localized product that you can bring in whether it be beer, local winery, distillery. You can go anywhere across this country and find a localized product now.
Yep.
And I kind of help them, bring in some of that local and regional feel. So what I try to do when I go in and I work on a beverage program is I kind of set it up in 4 tiers. The first tier is super hyper local. And then from there, the second tier, I'll go out to a little bit more regional.
Right.
The third tier, sure, now we can start looking at national and international, but at that point, I want national and international that still have a story and still have a uniqueness to them. And the example that I always bring up is something like Jefferson's Ocean for a bourbon, because that particular brand it's distilled, it's put in the barrels. Those barrels are put on a ship.
Oh, that's right. I've seen that
and
one.
are put and so the humidity, the shaking of the ship, all of that creates a unique and complex. No two barrels are the same, so it's a really really cool situation. Stories like that's tier 3, and then up to the tier 4, which is the major nationals that everybody knows of. But I try to limit it to 2 SKUs per item.
Okay, right.
So Tito's and Grey Goose, or whatever it may be. Now, some things, some types of liquor you can't do that with. Scotch has to come from Scotland. Tequila has to come from Jalisco in Mexico. So you're limited on some of the different varietals and different types of spirits. But yeah, I mean, I try to do the same thing for the wine program, and try to work with different local wineries and stuff like that. Again, the way people travel now and people want to experience, they want that localized flavor and that localized vibe. And then you build out partnerships with those local suppliers and those local distillers. And I did a consulting project in Alabama where the hoteler had a pre-existing partnership with the local distiller that they weren't capitalizing.
Oh my
So
God.
we set up and we started implementing and using some of their product in different sauces in the kitchen. I worked with one of our sous chefs that oversaw our restaurant, and really him and I and some of their development team from the distillery kind of worked on what can we incorporate and for different flavor profiles and different things like that. And so yeah, so we built out a whole program with them, and then also at the same time we built out a reciprocal. So one day a week they sent one of their distillers down to us and did a tasting with not only our staff but also we did a guest program as well.
Nice.
And then we did, because their distillery that they just opened was a half hour away from the hotel. So we just had one of our vans, our shuttle vans. We did a, distillery tour,
Nice.
kind of situation. So I'm huge on building those local partnerships. I think it really brings a unique, something that a lot of properties haven't really dove into yet. And I think it's something that can set a property apart when food and beverage, it's a cultural hub. It should be the focal point of a property, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's awesome. I always think about like points of difference from food and beverage. My wife and I, we don't travel a ton, but when we do, the first thing we do is start looking at places so that we're not like, we try to not be staying in a room where we could open our eyes and go, oh, what city are we in? Right? Like we try to find those experiences. So I think that doing the same thing with food and beverage is obviously like it's key. It's just so funny to me that we're in 2025 and it's still something, because this has been a conversation for years,
For
right?
sure.
But I think slowly, Someone that you and I both know that he's like on a crusade, and that's Scott Turner. He's on the crusade against the standard breakfast
Yep.
in a
Oh
hotel.
yeah.
I'm like, go man, go, because God, that's awful.
Yes, it is, and he's doing some killer work when it comes to that.
Yeah,
Um, I was just actually talking to him about a project he was working on recently, and he is so gung ho on like how do we like we need to differentiate this.
yeah,
It's the only meal. So talking about breakfast, the American Hotel and Lodging Association, which is one of our, not if our one of the largest, you know, groups and across the country for hotels, they came out with a statistic last year that said only, well, there's two stats here that I want to drop. Less than 30% of people um, will visit a hotel restaurant for something other than breakfast.
wow,
And less or 65% of people that travel base where they go and where they stay on what's going on in the food and beverage scene.
yeah, that's amazing. So it's about
Mm-hmm.
beverage. So it's about breakfast, and yet it's one of the stalest meals that exists in hotels.
Correct. And for the longest time, it's been the only meal that hotels care about. And the reason is because it's the only meal that traditionally, especially in hotels that offer it as a part of their room package, that ties into their room.
Yeah, crazy. Just I look forward to seeing what the things that you're doing with it, the things that Scott's doing with it. Look, just as things start to like continue to like push that flywheel around, so we start to see some momentum. It's fun. Um, one of the things that you've been pretty vocal about on LinkedIn is this concept of like frictionless payments.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love for you to like climb up on that soapbox and tell us a story, man, because
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
for sure.
something that I think is pretty freaking cool.
So when I say frictionless, and it's not just tied specifically to the payment, we want it tied to the entire guest experience from pre-arrival all the way till post-departure. So when it comes to the F&B side of that, it can start, and had a lot of discussions at an industry conference, High Tech in Indianapolis last week, with a lot of people. And this was a hotel tech conference. So this was people that are thinking along the lines of technology and the guest experience when incorporating that technology and all that. Had a lot of great conversations with people where from pre-arrival, instead of just booking a room, it's going to start being a quote unquote cart style booking process where you're not just booking the room based off of the dates that you're booking. Would you like to reserve a spa time? Would you like to reserve a dinner
Yeah,
reservation in our restaurant? Put all of that into one. This way it's done like an online concierge, pre-arrival concierge almost. Now let's forward and push that directly into food and beverage. There are areas of properties, especially, mid to high level properties that are horribly underutilizing and not capitalizing on food and beverage revenue. And areas, public areas, pool decks, cabanas, spa centers. If there's a golf course on the property, if there's a lot of hotels now are moving away from quote unquote business centers and doing like individualized work pods. Heck, even the just a lobby seating area that's not a F&B seating area, just a couple couches in the lobby. How can we utilize those areas for F&B and monetize those areas? A lot of it just comes down to being where where guests are, and that's right here. is on their phones. I can't tell you how many times I've seen and been on properties where I've seen a DoorDash, Uber Eats driver, come in and make a delivery when I have a restaurant that's sitting 30 feet from the entrance of the front door that's sitting 3/4 empty.
Yep.
And it drives me a little mentally insane. Like, that's revenue that you're losing. Like,
right.
You're just not capitalized. So we've kind of put together a multi-step system that is really focused on minimizing the bringing in of outside product, essentially, and doing things and keeping things internal to the property. So the first thing that we do as part of this process is we geofence specific areas of the hotel. Pool decks, cabanas, spa areas, all those areas I mentioned earlier. Hotel guest rooms, huge thing. So all of these areas, we put a geofence around. And what happens is you enter that geofence, you get a push notification. Hey, welcome to the pool area. If you would like to place a food and beverage order, click the link, or, however it may be. Not only does it do that, it also we've created targeted ads. We help properties create targeted ads for social media. So if I'm entering the pool area and I'm sitting in my lounge chair and scrolling Instagram, now I'm seeing a targeted ad that says, it doesn't say welcome to the pool, but it's specific to the pool area or whatever area it may be, for the property. And it's so now you click either the push notification or the targeted ad that you see on social media, and it comes up with a screen that you can either scan a QR code that each chair or each location has its own individualized QR code, or just tap and it has NFC capabilities. Either one.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So now, again, going back to the whole frictionless thought process, because it's tied to that specific chair or that specific area or that specific guest room or anything like that, you don't have to put in any information. We already know where you are. So you're not looking for a chair number to enter in or anything like that. We know where you're at, and it starts your order process. So now you're going into the order process. It is, first off, it's all-inclusive pricing. The only thing that you add on at the end is your tax, which is pretty much required by law. But any kind of auxiliary fees, delivery fees, any of those kind of no nonsense BS kind of fees that you typically see at the end that take your $15 burger up to a $22 burger, and you go, holy shit. Well, that's gonna turn some people off. Like, I thought I was ordering a $15 burger. All of a sudden, it's $22 plus tax. Like, I'm not gonna order, pay $25 for a burger. But people will do it. It's psychological, right? And they feel like they're getting nickel and dimed and duped and all this other stuff, and it can turn people off. So we put everything up front. Hey, all of the fees are included. This is what you're paying plus tax.
Right.
Also, it's dynamic pricing. So based off of, what's selling, what's not, if you want to run a flash sale or something like that, all of that information. What's the weather outside? Hey, if it's over 90 degrees, let's focus on frozen drinks. All of that, those factors get put into this back end of the software, and it pushes different things and it adjusts pricing accordingly. The fourth step is AI upsells. So based off of what you're putting in your cart, what other people have purchased based off that same item, it's smart learning. It's starting to know you the more that you're there and ordering, and what other people are also ordering to accompany that product. So we're offering those upsells. The fifth is frictionless payment. Now, I've actually recently partnered with a point of sale company called GoTab that allows people to keep a tab open for the entire duration of a day.
Oh wow.
And most people can, it can be split between multiple people. So if you are out on the golf course and your wife is sitting poolside and you both want to order something, you want to get something after you finish the ninth hole, grab a quick bite to eat, before you go to the back nine, and your wife is sitting poolside and she wants to order something, multiple people can place orders and it goes onto the same tab.
There you go.
And then at the end of the day, that tab can be closed out automatically by the hotel with an auto grat, or you can manually close it. But the whole thing is being able to put room charges and all of those kind of things. Digital wallets. Make it so people can pay pretty easily and not have to, split payments, promo codes, all of this other stuff. Making it easy for people to implement all this stuff. So that's really the thing that we're pushing out at a lot of properties right now. We've done some work, not the full system as of yet. We've implemented pieces of it, and hotels are already starting to see a dramatic increase in the top line revenue of
I love it.
all of that. The best part of it is it also helps reduce labor costs, because especially in areas like a pool deck or anything like that, where you, depending on the size of the property, you have to have, sometimes up to 8 to 10 servers, rolling around. Now people can place phone or orders on their phone directly. All you need is runners. Maybe keep a small handful, 2 to 4 servers for people that don't want to do the, and aren't comfortable with the technology type of stuff yet. But yeah, I mean, it's very much, it's reducing labor costs. It's driving revenue like a madman. And hotels that we've partnered with and have worked on they're seeing incredible return on the investment.
Right away, the first thing I think of is when you start to create awareness around something like that, it explodes, right? Like I love that you're able to roll like different pieces in different places and just have it still grab, because that's amazing. I say all the time to my chef clients, it's like, hey, if you pay attention to a number, right? If you pay attention to like what's happening with any number, it will grow. Or
Sure.
it'll go on the rec, but you got to pay attention to it. There's got to be awareness. You got to involve your team. I feel like, you start something like that and you get your servers on board and they start to like be able to, especially if there's fewer of them, they're like, wait, there's more to go around. Okay.
Correct.
And so,
Correct.
good stuff, man. I just loved sitting in the future with you.
And it's an amazing thing, because you talk to hotel leaders and you explain to them how much money is being left on the table and what kind of experience we can provide to the guest, right?
Right.
When you combine those two things, that's when you start to see some ears perk up, because and rightfully so, the first and foremost priority is making sure that we take care of the guest.
Right.
That's the top priority. But if we can do that while increasing the level of the guest experience and also drastically driving revenue, you start to see the wheels in people's heads start turning.
Right.
How the heck can we do that? And that's the thing, like, especially in the hotel side, it's something that really hasn't been done for a long time. Like,
Right.
you look at hotels, their F&B line on profit and loss report is driven by events, banquets.
Oh, wow.
It's I mean,
Yeah.
for the longest time, restaurants and outlets and bars, they've been a loss leader. So now we're taking something that has traditionally been something that costs the property money to operate, but is there just because it's an amenity.
Right.
And now we're flipping it and we're doing something that is driving revenue, creating an experience that people want to be a part of. It's a win-win all the way around.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Well, I've learned a couple things today. Thank you.
My pleasure.
That's good stuff. And I think we definitely covered some ground, man. I mean, you think about the fact that we came from customer experience onto creating some new experiences for hotel guests. I think that's pretty phenomenal. Um, I'm going to make sure that in the show notes that we can find you at Savage Orchid Hospitality, and they can. I assume you're on. I know you're on LinkedIn, so we'll make sure that that's in there as well. And I
Appreciate it.
just really want to thank you for coming to play and hang out in my sandbox for a little while and share what's going on with you and what's kind of what's new in the world of hospitality, because it's pretty exciting stuff, man. Like I say, the future, sitting in the future is kind of awesome.
The people that I have conversations with, both inside and outside of the industry, I tell them constantly, the next 2 to 3 years for our industry in the hotel space, it's an exciting time to be a part of this. It really is.
Awesome. Well, once again, thank you so much for coming to play. And to all you out there, I'm going to catch you on the flip side. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Chef.
Yeah, man. You've been listening to Culinary Mechanic. This show exists to help you lead with more clarity, build systems that actually work, and create a kitchen culture worth showing up for. If this episode helped you move even one step in that direction, do me a favor, leave a quick review. It helps more chefs and operators stop the chaos and start leading with intention.